Financial Advisors, planning for life. Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And good evening, Hampton Roads. Welcome to another edition of Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. I'm certified financial planner Kevin Zivna. Alongside me, as usual, CFP Allison DeBrill. Together we come to you live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month to dialogue with you, take your calls. If you have a question or comment relating to your own personal financial situation, we'd love to hear from you. All we need is your first name, city you're calling from, and no matter what Allison and I are talking about, if it's important to you, then it's important to us. We'll get you right on air. 627-7979. That's 757-627-7979. Wealthway Financial Advisors is the proud sponsor of Dollars and Common Sense. We are an independent registered investment advisor, which means we're legally held to a fiduciary standard to put our clients' interests ahead of our own and any business dealing, and that's the way it should be when you work with a financial advisor. As the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. So by design, we can't work with everyone. We work with a relatively small group of high net worth individuals, but that's one of the reasons we feel so strongly about coming here every second and fourth Tuesday at 6 p.m., and that's to reach out and help as many people in the Hampton Roads listening area that we can achieve your measure of financial success, because it is a core belief at Wealthway Advisors that the overwhelming majority of people in this country have the opportunity for financial security if they choose it. And it is a choice because it takes some time, it takes some effort, and it takes some knowledge. We are here to help. You got to take that first step, though. Pick up the phone, give us a call, 627-7979. Whether you want to talk about anything having to do with the investment markets, the economy, insurance products like life insurance, health insurance, property casualty, taxes, tax planning, tax reduction strategies, retirement planning, retirement plans, 401ks, 403bs, TSP, 457, IRAs, Roth IRAs, mortgage options, Social Security claiming strategies, or estate planning, wills and trusts. All that and more falls under the umbrella of personal finance we are here to discuss tonight. 757-627-7979. Happy Valentine's Day, Allison.
Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Do you have like an IOU with your wife for tonight? Like, I'll make it up to you.
We are going away this weekend. Going out to Charlottesville and Stanton region, doing some wineries and some dineries.
Ooh, yes.
Be eating good food and drinking good wine out there for this weekend.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good celebration.
How about you? Are you cooking your husband dinner, or are you buying him flowers?
It's probably leftover night at our house. Very romantic, right. I know. But, every day is Valentine's Day.
Of course, when you're in love.
Yes.
Sure, it is.
Well, in the spirit of Valentine's Day, we thought we would talk about money and marriage tonight. Mm-hmm. Money is, I think, the number one issue that couples fight about and the second leading cause for divorce. So we wanted to put it out in the open tonight, talk about how to have a healthy relationship and work through money issues with your significant other.
Yeah, in order to have a healthy marital relationship, it's important to have a healthy financial relationship with your spouse. And it is, I would say, very common that at least when it comes to the money aspects of coupling, opposites do tend to attract. It is, I'd say, more common that there is a spender and a saver, and then there is, or there's maybe a detail-oriented penny pincher, and then somebody who's kind of just like seat of the pants and it'll all work out. There's some that care more about the finances than others. Some people don't want to hear, don't want anything to do with it and leave all the decision making to the other person, which can work, but you have to also communicate effectively. So there's a lot of complicated dynamics that flow through a relationship because of money. And if you have a healthy couple relationship with money, then chances are you're going to have a healthy relationship in general.
Yeah, and so we want to first talk about how to have those conversations before you're married, and then we'll get into how to best navigate these differences and strategies while you're married.
Yeah, if you can lay the groundwork before you get married, then that usually goes a long way to smoothing out any differences over the long run. Better to get them out of the way up front than find out after the fact. So we've got a few tips on that, and then we'll go into what you do after you get married. All right, but before we do that, we have a caller on the line. And as promised, when we get a call, we'll break into that. We're going to go up to Gloucester, speak with Carrie. Good evening, Carrie. You're on Dollars and Common Sense.
Well, I have the tangibles. I have also my stock portfolio, and then there's Ave Maria, the fund, and I also have a house. Do you think that there's going to be a real estate crash or some kind of economic crash? I was wondering if there was. I'm thinking it might last for like 2 or 3 years, but with the folding of globalism and the aging of populations, I was told that we might be able to expect a doubling of our manufacturing capacity and doubling of our farming capacity because we'll be supplying ourselves with everything from now on. But I'm wondering, do you see a crash coming? And do you think silver would go up as well?
Okay, Carrie. Well, there's a lot to
there.
dissect there. Yeah, I think globally, what you're asking is there going to be a major economic crisis that we're going to have to contend with in the near future? I think the answer to that is no. I think there's concern around elevated inflation levels. That is true, and that is real, and that is happening now. But it's also known, and it's also being dealt with. It's being dealt with because the Fed is beginning to raise interest rates. Interest rates are needed to rising interest rates are needed to tamp down on economic activity, which will help bring down the elevated inflation levels. So when you have a known solvable problem, those things tend to get solved eventually. It was true in 2022 that we had a official bear market on the U.S. stock exchange, at least on the S&P 500, defined as a 20% or greater decline from some peak to a trough. That happened a couple times throughout 22. So but we would consider that a routine bear market that happens on average once every 6 to 7 years. So we wouldn't consider that a crisis. We would consider that a temporary nuisance or disappointment that can be managed through, especially if you're still accumulating assets. So I don't see where there's any big, hugely negative economic conditions, forces at work here to create any sort of major crisis in the next 3 to 5 years. I think that the housing market does need to cool off a little bit. Housing prices should decline a little bit. We're starting to see some of that because of the rise in mortgage rates. That's starting to reduce demand for housing. But that a modest price decline, we had a good run in housing for at least 5 years, maybe 10 years. It would be natural to have a little bit of pullback, and new first-time home buyers would certainly welcome that. So we're pretty optimistic next 3 to 5 years. What that would do to silver, I'm not really sure. That's not really an asset class that we would consider as part of a portfolio. Was that helpful?
It helps. It helps. Thank you.
All right, Carrie, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. All right, why don't we step out here, take a short break, and then we'll jump back into some of the tips for marriage and money, how to keep your relationship healthy while you keep your finances healthy as well. If you got a question or comment relating to your own personal financial situation, jump on the phone lines, give us a call, 627-7979. She's Allison. I'm Kevin. You're listening to Dollars and Common Sense on AM 790 WNIS.
Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And welcome back to Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. Alongside certified financial planner Allison DeBrill, I'm CFP Kevin Zivna. We're from Wealthway Financial Advisors, the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, where we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. For more information about us, look us up online at wealthwayadvisors.com. All right, tonight we're talking about marriage and money, how you can be happy and successful with both.
Yes, so if you are thinking about walking down the aisle and getting married, there are a few things you could do to set your marriage off on the right foot from a financial perspective. First of all, many couples don't even talk about money before marriage. I guess you're just all caught up in the romance of it all, and maybe money's taboo, or you just don't think that you'll ever have any problems, so you don't feel the need to talk about money in the early days. But really, not talking about money before getting married is risky. I'll just call it risky, because you don't know what the other person has up their sleeve. Could be debt, could be assets, you don't know. And you don't know their thoughts and attitudes around money and what they value and how they manage it. So it's best to go in with your eyes open and have some deep conversations before heading down the aisle.
Yes, I can tell you, as somebody who's spent my entire adult professional life in the money business, I don't know if there is another topic, another area of a person's life that drives more emotion than money, and people's feelings about money, towards money, what they use money for, how they value money, or if they don't value money. It's tied into so many other emotions: power, control, independence, freedom, comfort. All of that is intrinsically tied up with money. And so if you are not aligned with your money philosophies, you most likely won't be aligned in other emotional areas of your life as well, and it will eventually come out.
Yeah, so everybody has money mindset, how you think about money and how you make your spending decisions. So it's a good idea to talk about that, talk about, what your basic needs are and what you consider to be a splurge, or what's important to you, and what your habits are, especially if you have debt. So you're going to want to come clean about any debt before walking down the aisle and getting married. You probably want to share an entire balance sheet, all of your finances, before you get married. Yeah,
because your debt will, in one way or the other, become your partner's debt. I mean, you'll both have to work to pay it off, most likely. So if that's an issue, you need to disclose it so that you can go in with your eyes wide open.
Now, to combine accounts or not to combine? That is always the big question we get. There's a lot of different ways you can manage finances together as a couple, and we see it done a lot of different ways. But keeping your finances separate can create problems down the road long term with the way you think about your money as mine and his or hers versus thinking about it as ours. So we generally like the idea of combining finances and having joint household finances, and then maybe keeping a little bit separate on the side for each of you for personal spending that you don't have to ask or answer any questions about, Valentine's Day gifts, perhaps, flowers, chocolates, trips.
Cigars, football trips. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're going to want to have a conversation before you get married about how you want to handle your finances going forward, whether it's going to be jointly or separately. And we can dig into that a little bit more later on in the show.
Yeah, the best arrangement that we've seen if you're relatively young and your first marriage, starting out with a kind of a clean slate, is 3 bank accounts: his account, her account, and our account, or the joint account. The majority of all household income, basically your both paychecks, if you're both working, go into the joint account. And then you can nowadays electronically link to the husband's individual account, the wife individual account, and give yourself each a little allowance every week or 2 weeks or once a month or however you do it. And those the joint account is for communal expenditures for the house and for the family and for joint future. And then the smaller individual accounts are for discretionary spending that you don't have to ask the other party's permission for. So, like Allison was saying, if you happen to like expensive cigars or bourbon,
randomly,
and you want to go out and buy yourself that, then you have the funds to do it. And your spouse does, because it's not coming out of joint, doesn't need to get upset that you're spending money how she would not prefer. Likewise, maybe shoes. I don't know.
Hair. I've heard.
Well,
I've heard that's
the hair
hot
comes out of
button.
the joint in my household.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm going to put that on the
Yeah,
joint.
it's on $250 haircuts. I don't know even how that is possible. Anyway, so you might have to negotiate a little bit on.
This is why we talk these things through.
Right, on what's a joint purchase and what's an individual purchase. But once you do, then that way you each have a little bit of freedom and autonomy and control for your splurges. And the other person doesn't have to get angry or resentful because it's your own personal money. But most all the money, of course, comes out of that joint account. And we got a caller on the line that probably wants to jump right in on this type of conversation. Carter in Virginia Beach. Good evening. You're on Dollars and Common Sense. Carter, are you there? Oh, we lost Carter. He had something to do with merging finances and early marriage, just what we were talking about.
Yeah. So we definitely see couples that keep their finances completely separate. Sometimes that could be because it's a later in life marriage where
second marriage.
You have been on your own financially your whole life. You have, maybe no kids together, former marriage, and you each have your own assets already. And that can be okay. There can be a reason to keep things separate. But if you are just starting out in your marriage and you're early on in life, I think the joint mindset is the healthiest way to approach a marriage as a partnership where the family expenses come first and then, of course, a little bit on the side, like you were saying, where you have autonomy.
Yeah, and I do like the idea that each individual gets their own separate individual account that they don't have to ask permission for. That goes a long way.
It saves a lot of fights.
In keeping the peace, right, in the household, especially when maybe some months money gets tight, right? And, you're like, well, groceries, electric bill, gas in the car, and then somebody shows up at the house with, I don't know, a new big screen TV that you didn't need. Well, then there's
the fight there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Right
there. Yep. And so when you are deciding whether to go down this road of combined finances or not, I think we generally would encourage combining unless there's extenuating circumstances or specific reasons not to. And it's a good idea to, dare I say it, work on a budget. I know the dreaded B word. I try to avoid this as much as possible because nobody likes a budget, but you really should sit down early on and talk about what expenses are joint household expenses, what expenses would be considered personal, and you're going to see if you have any differences in values on what you should be spending money on versus what is not important, and you can work through those things on the front end before they happen or before you get too emotional about it.
And an idea of how much and how you are going to save and invest for the future. Some people are more free-flowing, easygoing, live for today, future will take care of itself. Other people are much more goal-focused and future-oriented and would prefer to make sure that they have a good, solid financial foundation for the future before they start spending lavishly on cars or furniture or vacations. And that value judgment you place on money and certain aspects of your life would definitely lead to arguments if not worked through.
Right. You can't assume that you're on the same page.
Right. Yeah. Okay, it's all the time we have for the first half of the show. We got to take a break right here for the news. We'll be back in just a few minutes after that. If you have a question or comment relating to your own personal financial situation or anything we're talking about here tonight, jump on the phone lines, give us a call, 627-7979. She's Allison, I'm Kevin. You're listening to Dollars and Common Sense on AM 790 WNIS.
Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life. Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And welcome back to Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. Alongside certified financial planner Allison DeBrill, I'm CFP Kevin Zivna. We're from Wealthway Financial Advisors, the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, where we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. For more information about us, you can check us out online at wealthwayadvisors.com. Once there, you can also request an information packet to find out what it's like to work with us or sign up for a free quarterly newsletter at wealthwayadvisors.com. Just go to the contact page, put your name and address in the dialog boxes there, select the appropriate drop-down menu, and we'll get that information out to you later on this week. And that's all we will use your name and address for, is just to send you the information that you request. Or if you got some nuanced questions and want to speak with a live human being, we got those too. You can give us a call at the office, 757-456-2200. Want to remind everybody, our next show will be in 2 weeks on Tuesday, February 28th at 6 p.m. as usual. But if you can't catch us live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month at 6 p.m. or our rebroadcast on Saturday mornings following the show, then you can get the show as a podcast. Search for Dollars and Common Sense wherever you get your podcast. Download us, take us with you wherever you go. And if you are on social media, we are too. We're on Facebook and LinkedIn. You can search for Wealthway Financial Advisors, hit that like button, and at least once a week we put up a financial planning-oriented post to hopefully educate and inform you. All right, talking about love and money tonight on Valentine's Day, how much we love money. If you have a question or comment about that or anything having to do with your personal financial situation, jump on the phone lines, give us a call in the studio, 757-627-7979. Right now we're going to run out to Virginia Beach and speak with Tom. Good evening, Tom. You're on Dollars and Common Sense.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'm going to mess up your Valentine's theme a little bit. My question is about Social Security after divorce. I was married for 20 years and been divorced for 10. I'm just wondering how, I've heard that I can collect off of my ex-wife's insurance and she off of mine. I'm just wondering how that works and if I can collect off of hers if I was a higher income earner.
Mm-hmm. Good question, Tom. So you said a couple key points. You said you were married for 20 years, so that's good because to file on an ex-spouse's Social Security record, you have to have been married for at least 10 years, so you check that box. And you have to have been divorced for at least 2 years before you could get any benefit, so it sounds like you check that box as well. Now, the details come down to whose benefit is larger, because once you claim, that's going to be your benefit for the rest of your life, and you'll want to default to whichever benefit is the higher of the two benefits. So do you know whose benefit is higher?
That would be mine. That's
Yours.
pretty much almost answered everything I had to ask there.
Yeah,
That's what I was curious about.
you used to be able to file a lesser benefit and just let yours grow. That was called the file and suspend strategy, but
Right.
that went away a couple years ago with a tax law because it was a really good deal. So they caught on to that. So you no longer have the option to switch between benefits when you're divorced. You can just claim the higher of the two. But regardless, claiming on an ex-spouse's benefit won't impact them and it won't impact you. It's not even anything they would know about if you did it.
They're not even notified.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You just answered two of my questions. Is would I know if she was using mine, and would it affect mine? So you've answered all my questions quite
no
well.
and no. You would not know, and it would not affect yours.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really surprised it wouldn't affect, but that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know. All right, I was thinking maybe I could collect a few extra dollars, but not this
Yeah,
time.
not if you're the higher earner. Then your best bet is just to go on your own record.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, Tom, thanks for the call. We appreciate that as well. 757-627-7979 if you want to jump in on the conversation.
Well, an update, marriage and money back to the marriage and money topic. I've officially gotten a thumbs down veto on putting haircuts on the joint budget. So someone's listening right now.
Right. Well, obviously, I'm doing it wrong in my household. I tell you, the haircut budget is very imbalanced.
Yeah.
When mine is like $18
Right.
at $20 with the tip,
Right.
then and I'm looking at $250 on the other side of the ledger.
Well, I'm sure there's.
I don't know if there is. No, I'm not sure there is actually
this
a way
is
to balance it out.
Exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
These are the issues.
These little
that
annoyances,
come
and then
up.
they
Yeah.
build up after
Right.
a while.
So one of the big things we've been talking about is open communication. So don't keep details too close to the vest. Usually there's one person that's more involved in the finances than the other, or there's someone who wants to do the day-to-day management of the budget or the income and the expenses, and the other person doesn't care, doesn't want to know. Well, we recommend that both people still be present, have a seat at the table for those conversations. And when we work with clients, we really insist that both clients come in for financial planning meetings. Even if one spouse really does not want to deal with the details, they need to know what's going on so that they have some buy-in to the strategy and the plan.
Yeah, we always say to our clients that we work with you as a couple as long as you are a couple, and both people need to be present at the majority of all of our meetings, because like Allison said, even if one person is sort of the money person of the family, of the household, and does the bill paying and all the technicalities and administration around the finances, the other party has to be in the room to hear the conversations, to understand why the recommendations get made, and understand the decisions that get made from those. It has to be a team approach.
Mm-hmm. And I would suggest maybe weekly meetings, sit-downs.
Ooh, weekly.
I know. Well, so we did this. We did weekly sit-downs for years and years and discussed, where we were every week. It was more like, stop spending. You stop spending. In a loving way, of course. But, now we're to the point where we can do monthly meetings and check-ins, just a little temperature check to see where we are and if we're on track with our short-term goals, our medium-term goals, and our long-term goals.
How many cocktails are involved?
Oh, there's cocktails always. It's always
At those
around cocktail
meetings,
hour,
yeah,
right? You don't want to do it around coffee hour.
No, not first thing in the morning?
No. So cocktail hour, budget meetings, that's what I suggest.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so we've been talking about money and marriage, how to approach combining your finances when you're married, whether you're going to do a joint account or you're going to keep your finances completely separate. One of the biggest keys is communication, setting expectations together so that everybody's on the same page, because money is I think it is the number one issue that couples fight about. We could make it a little more interesting and introduce kids into the topic.
Which always complicates the issue.
Right.
No matter what you're talking about when kids are involved. But add kids and money, and now that brings up a great point, because how you choose to raise your children and the philosophy around parenting your children has a lot to do with money. If somebody wants to shower the kids with a lot of gifts and clothes and money without responsibility, in other words, gifting money instead of an allowance type of situation, that is obviously going to be in conflict to somebody who has a different philosophy on child raising and thinks that children should be taught how to earn money and have a stake in what they do in order to get money as they're developing. Those are going to be at odds. And so you put parenting styles with financial motivations, philosophies.
Right.
Yeah, it's a cauldron for, it's a recipe for potential fireworks. I'm sure 98% of people listening are nodding their heads going that at some point or another we've had these types of disagreements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether you're just going to, provide whatever is needed for the kids, whether it's a want versus a need, or whether you're going to set up an allowance system or, just pay for certain things and make them work for other things. Most people are coming at this from different perspectives. I mean, how you were raised is going probably different, and is probably going to significantly impact how you think your children should be raised. So having these conversations on the front end it's a really good idea. I like the idea of allowance because not just from a budgeting perspective for the parents, but because it is a tool to help children learn about how to handle money. And you can start it really at any point. I've heard the suggestion of $1 for each year. So obviously you're not going to pay your 1-year-old a $1 allowance, but maybe you're starting in the teens
8, 9,
or double digits.
10,
Yeah, exactly.
And they could do simple chores around the house and get $2 or $3 a week or something like that. That they should, and that's a good time if you do give your kids allowance of sort of a meaningful allowance. Call it like $5 a week, something like that. Then a great exercise is $1 to save goes into the bank. $1 goes to charity of the child's choice, and $3 are left for the child to spend at their own discretion.
That. Yeah.
And that is teaching them good, healthy, meaningful financial habits that can last a lifetime.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, to teach about money young and to teach the power of saving and giving. I mean, those are really powerful lessons to learn at an early age that will hopefully stick with them. And then that can maybe smooth over some of the different parenting style approaches when it comes to money.
All right, we're going to step out, take our last break here of the hour. We're going to be right back in just a couple of minutes. If you want to jump on the phone lines, give us a call, 757-627-7979. She's Allison, I'm Kevin. You're listening to Dollars and Common Sense on AM 790 WNIS.
Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life. Wealthway Financial Advisors, planning for life.
And welcome back to Dollars and Common Sense, your local source for objective, unbiased financial advice. Alongside certified financial planner Allison DeBrill, I'm CFP Kevin Zivna. We're from Wealthway Financial Advisors, the premier financial planning firm in Hampton Roads, where we integrate expert investment management with customized ongoing financial planning advice to help our clients answer life's big financial questions and enhance their quality of life. For more information about us, look us up online at wealthwayadvisors.com. Once there, you can request an information packet to find out what it's like to work with us, or sign up for a free quarterly newsletter at wealthwayadvisors.com. Just go to the contact page, put your name and address in the dialog boxes, select the appropriate drop-down menu, and we'll get that information out to you later on this week. Or if you want to call us at the office, speak to a live human being, 456-2200. Our next live show will be in 2 weeks on Tuesday, February 28th at 6 p.m. as usual. But if you can't catch us live every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, get this show as a podcast. Search for Dollars and Common Sense wherever you get your podcasts. Download us, take us with you wherever you go, and listen at your leisure. All right, talking about marriage and money tonight. If you have a question about that or want to jump in on the conversation, give us a call on the studio line, 627-7979. Right now, we're going to go out to Virginia Beach and speak with Lynn. Good evening, Lynn. You're on Dollars and Common Sense.
Hi. my husband's retirement fund was set up as a self-directed IRA, and we were told that we could not take any losses for tax purposes. Just wanted to see if that's correct.
And when you say self-directed IRA, you mean
Yes.
like you control the investment choices in the IRA, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Well, yes. So the short answer is yes, you cannot take any losses on investments that have declined within an IRA. You also don't pay any tax on profit on investments that you sell for a gain in IRA. All the buying, selling, gain, loss activity is protected from taxation inside the IRA wrapper. Okay.
Okay. Well,
so
hopefully that answers
hopefully
the
that
question.
answers Lynn's question.
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of an IRA or 401k or retirement account is that it is tax sheltered. So you don't have to pay tax on the gain, but conversely, you don't get to deduct any losses. Now, a taxable brokerage account, on the other hand, each year you're going to pay tax on the gain, and you could potentially deduct losses from any losses, and that would be reported on your 1099 tax form, which should be coming out soon. I know we have a lot of people wondering when they're going to get their 1099s. It should be in the next week or two.
Yeah, and that deadline for a lot of custodians now has been pushed back to mid to late February is when we start seeing them. Also, another note about that, Lynn, that the taxation part of the IRA is when money comes out of the IRA, traditional IRA. When the money comes out, that's when it gets taxed as ordinary income. So just a little clarifying point there. All right, we're going to stay in Virginia Beach and speak with David. Good evening, David. You're on Dollars and Common Sense.
How are you, sir? Thank you. I have two questions. One, if we have an emergency fund, what is the next? We only have a little bit left over. What's the next best thing we should be investing our money in? And the second thing is, when is it better to take Social Security, early or late?
Well, the
That's
second
a
one's
good
loaded.
one.
Yeah.
Good one. Well, David, tell me, so you have an emergency fund and you're looking for the next best vehicle to save into. Are you still working?
I'm still working, yes. I will have a pension, but I am not too far from retirement.
Okay.
And how's the debt situation? Any consumer debt like credit cards or store cards
No, not
or
credit cards
high-interest car loans?
Medical debt and mortgage.
Okay, medical debt, is that something that's been financed?
No,
Okay, so you just have to pay it back over
just no
time.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
on the kids had a couple of congenital things, so just has to pay it over time, right?
Okay.
Okay. Do you have access to a company-sponsored retirement plan through your work?
Yes.
Does your company contribute any matching contributions? If you put in $1, do they put anything in?
No.
No matching. Okay.
No, ma'am.
All right. Well, typically, emergency reserve is the very first priority, so good job having that. Then we would typically recommend contributing to company-sponsored retirement plans if there's any matching, because you want to get matching dollars. That's essentially free money. In your case, if you don't have any specific matching, that gives you a little bit more flexibility. You don't have to use your company-sponsored retirement plan. You could possibly consider doing an IRA or a Roth IRA, depending on your income. Those two vehicles are subject to income limitations, but that would be a good way to maybe save in a tax-protected wrapper for retirement long term.
Yeah, you want to make sure if you do put the money into an IRA that that's generally untouchable, at least psychologically, until you are at least age 59 and a half in order to withdraw it without penalty. And if you're past that age, then you're fine there. The contributions you make, you can withdraw anytime without the 10% penalty. If that were an issue, then a regular brokerage account or a mutual fund directly with a mutual fund company like Vanguard or Fidelity or TD Ameritrade or Schwab, after the emergency fund and all the high interest rate debt is paid off, that's when you want to look to get the money into long-term growth-oriented investments.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Now, Social Security?
Yes, David, if you can tell me exactly how long you're going to live, I will tell you exactly when to claim Social Security. We can do this.
Yeah.
It's such a complicated decision. It really, really depends on your entire financial situation that we couldn't possibly give any advice on the radio about that. It does really depend on your life expectancy. So if you think you have a high possibility of living into your mid to late 80s, then that argues for maybe claiming a little later rather than sooner. But the rest of your financial situation really plays into that. You know, when are you going to retire? What is your income going to be in retirement? Do you need the money now versus later? So my best advice is to find a financial advisor that could look at the big picture for you and help you kind of narrow down your claiming options on Social Security.
Okay. Thank you. I've also heard about some type of, I've just over the radio, different things on life insurance, some types of being a way to save money. Can you explain that at all?
Well, probably not in the 1 minute that we have left, David. I'm sorry. But we certainly could, we'll be back in 2 weeks, Tuesday, February 28th, and you can throw that out there again. But generally speaking, we think life insurance as a vehicle should be used for life insurance purposes primarily, if not exclusively, and that it does not make, no matter how it's sliced, diced, or manufactured, it does not make for a great investment type of vehicle. So I'll just leave it at that for now, because that's all the time we have for tonight. But we will be back in 2 weeks on Tuesday, February 28th at 6 p.m. live. So make note on your calendar there. If you want more information about us in the meantime, look us up online at wealthwayadvisors.com. For certified financial planner Allison DeBrill, I'm CFP Kevin Zibna. You've been listening to Dollars and Common Sense on AM 790 WNIS.